Welcome to Eagles Concept Learning Room. In this video, we are taking you through the senior secondary biology, and the topic is reproduction in human beings. Reproduction is simply the process by which an organism produces its offspring, and it is also known as breeding. Okay, so we are saying reproduction also has other names such as procreation and breeding. So now, human beings and other animals, they produce by the type of sexual reproduction called sexual reproduction. So this one, it involves the combining of genetic information between two different individuals of two different sexes. Okay, so in humans, reproduction typically involves sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. Mark my words, I am saying sexual intercourse and not sex. There is a difference between these two. So sex is just a state of either being male or female. But sexual intercourse, this one involves the penetration of the penis into the vagina, either primarily for reproduction and secondarily for pleasure. Okay, so that is sexual intercourse, the penetration of the vagina of the penis into the vagina, primarily for reproduction, but also at times it is for just pleasure. Okay, so during sexual intercourse, the interaction between the male and the female reproductive systems results in what is called fertilization of a woman's ovum by the man's sperm. Okay, let's look at the female reproductive system. So the female reproductive system is usually internal. We can't see it from the outside, only a smaller part can be seen. Okay, so here is how it looks like. So we've got the vagina here, which is an opening to the outside that can be seen by the eyes. Then we've got the cervix, which is known as the neck of the uterus. Then we've got the uterus itself. This is the uterus, okay, which is where the baby will develop. Then we have the wall of the uterus. We have the endometrium. The endometrium is simply the lining of the uterus. And we have the corpus luteum, which is just a part of the follicles. Okay. Now, the oviduct here is a tube-like structure. Then we've got the ovaries, the one that produces the eggs or the ova. Okay, so we've got the ovaries here, the ones which produces the what? The eggs. Okay, so what usually happens now here is during sexual intercourse, the vagina will receive the sperms. That's why this one is also known as the birth canal. So it will receive the sperms will pass through all the way and it goes to the oviduct there, where it can meet the egg and fertilization occurs. Okay, so quickly, let's just try to look at the functions of these things that we have seen. So we are saying the fallopian tube, like the name suggests, it's a tube, and it is on average about 12 centimeters long and has ends that are funnel shaped. So these ends collect the egg after ovulation. So ovulation is simply the production of an egg. Then there is also some cilia which tend to move the egg by a process called peristalsis. Okay, so this peristalsis is just a rhythmic contraction and relaxation movement kind that causes the egg to move. Okay. Then we have the uterus. So the uterus is also known as the womb. It is made up of involuntary muscles, okay, and its lining is known as the endometrium. Okay, so now we also have the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus, okay, which separates the vagina from the uterus. Then the vagina, like we said, this one is the muscular tube, which allows the sperm to enter the female as well as the baby to exit. It is lined with mucosa secreting cells for lubrication. Okay, let's also look at the male reproductive organs. So the male reproductive organ, this one is more of external than internal. Okay, so most of the man's reproductive system is located outside of his body and is composed of the following organs. So we have the penis, the scrotum, and so we have the penis, the scrotum, and the testicles. Okay. However, this system also contains some internal structures. Okay. Now, these organs that we have just listed, they have got the general functions, which can be as follows. The first one is to produce, maintain, and transport the sperm. So the function is to produce, maintain, and transport the sperm. Then also to discharge sperm within the female reproductive tract. Then also to produce and secrete male sex hormones. And here we are talking about the testosterone. Okay, so the male sex hormones, it's usually the testosterones. Okay, let's look at the male reproductive system, the way it looks like. So this is what we are having here. We have the penis here, then we have the urethra inside here. Okay, so along the penis here, we've got in front here, usually there's the foreskin, which gets to be removed during circumcision. Okay, then inside here, we have the testicle. So the testicles, there are the two of them. Okay, then outside we have the scrotum. So the function of the scrotum here is just to hold the testicles in place. Okay, then just around the testicles we've got the epididymis. Okay, so we've got the epididymis. Okay, so and of course we have another tube called the vas deferens. Okay, so these other things are just trying to show the other parts of the body that primarily these are the things that we do listed. Okay, so let's look at the functions of the external parts of the male sex organ. So here we're talking about the penis. This one we've already said the penis is this one is used for depositing the sperms into the vagina, and it contains a foreskin. This foreskin gets to be removed during circumcision, usually for hygiene purposes, and also some do believe it increases it increases the sexual performance of a male in bed. So those are just some of the reasons, but primarily it's for hygiene purposes and also so that males cannot easily transfer the human papilloma virus into the female during sexual intercourse, and this enables the female not to have cancer. Okay, then we also have the scrotum. Like I said, this is a pouch-like sac of skin that hangs behind the penis, and it contains the testicles or the testes. Okay, so now these testes, they usually operate. One of the functions of the scrotum is that it has a protective function and acts as a climate control system for the testes. Okay, for normal development of the sperm, the testes must be at a temperature slightly cooler than the body. This is how come for males you observe that when you touch your scrotum, it's usually colder. It's colder than the rest of the body. Okay, so it's colder than the rest of the body. So that is one of the function of the scrotum. Okay, so let's talk about now the testes themselves. So the testes are oval organs about the size of very large olives that lie in the scrotum. So the testes are responsible for making testosterone and for producing sperm. Okay, the epididymis, as you saw it, this one is its function is carrying and storing the sperms that are produced in the testes. So the testis produces the sperm. So these guys, they produce the sperm. Then the sperm is being now stored and transported by the epididymis. Okay, the epididymis also brings the sperm to maturity, because as the sperm is being produced by the testis, it is actually immature. So in order for it to mature, it has to be matured by the epididymis. Okay, now that we have looked at the male sex organ and the female sex organ, let's see how what processes now occur in these that will really bring about reproduction of new organisms. So we can look at the menstrual cycle. Now we know that the female counterparts, they are blessed by a unique process called the menstruation, the menstruation period. Okay, so some call it menstruation, some call it a period. But this one is simply the removal, the periodic shedding of blood from the female and this blood comes out via the vagina. So we just want to understand what this is all about and what it is composed of. So, okay, the menstrual cycle, it is a 28-day period cycle. Okay, so it involves the following stages. Usually they are just 4 stages. So between the first day, from 1 to 5 days, that is for on average. Usually others they can even go up to 7 days, but from the first day to the 5th day here, okay, the period, the lining of the uterus sheds. So the endometrium. So what happens is this now. The body is designed, the female body is designed in such a way that when an egg has been produced, the ovum has been produced, that prepares the woman for possible pregnancy. So should it happen that the woman is not pregnant, then that egg is no longer needed. So it has to be broken down, and the lining of the uterus also has to come out. So the shedding of the lining of the uterus, which is the endometrium, plus the remains of the egg, will come out through the vagina in form of blood. So that is what we call menstruation, or simply period. So now this one, it differs from woman to woman, but on average it takes about for other women it's just 3 days, it is done. For others 4 days, others 5, but others it prolongs, it can even go up to 7 days or so. That is acceptable. But if it goes beyond that, then it means it is not normal. So now from 1 to 5 days, that is now the first phase of the period, which is called the menstrual phase. So from the menstrual phase, what happens now is that the new egg matures. Okay, so the new egg matures, the lining of the uterus begins to thicken in readiness for what? Implantation. Okay, so this is the period from 6 days to 12 days. So even if you are trying to make sure you don't have sex if you are not ready to get pregnant during this period, because any sexual intercourse will definitely result into pregnancy. Okay, then we have now from 13, basically from 13, 14, 15, this period is very sensitive because that is the ovulation period. So in the ovulation period here, now ovulation is the production of the egg, so the egg is there. So if also you have sex in this period here, if you have sex in this period, you are likely to get pregnant. In fact, this is the time that a woman is very ready for pregnancy because the egg has just been produced. Okay, so this one is called the ovulation period, and specifically on the 14th day of the cycle. Okay, then from there we've got also this phase from 16. So we've got number 1, we've got this phase here, which is the menstrual phase. Then we've got this other phase. Then we've got the ovulation phase. Then we've got this last phase here from 16 to about 28 days, which is known as the luteal phase. Okay, so in this phase here, what happens is that the egg travels to the uterus. If it is not fertilized, it dissolves, the lining of the uterus continues to thicken. Okay, so if it is not fertilized during this period, the ovulation period, then it will travel to here. So probably this time is the time some other people want to call the safe period. So the safe period is usually after the ovulation period. Now, this period here is not standard for every woman. It's not standard for every woman. So if you are relying on this one as a woman, you need to be counting your days, because not every woman begins to menstruate at the same time. So some they begin at the first day of the month, some they begin at the last day of the month. So your period cycle begins from the day that you begin to shed your periods. Okay, so those are some of the things, and you can know these things, some of the signs as you begin. You know the rising of the tempers, the formation of the cramps, and the paining of the abdomen. You can know that I'm about to start attending by using those various signs. Okay, let's just look at another view of the menstrual cycle. So like we said, here, these are the 3 phases here. Okay, so phase 1, we are calling it the menstruation. So the thickened uterine lining was falls away, so the body can start preparing a new one. Okay, so that is it, the menstrual phase. Like I said, others can even go up to 3 days. So from about 3 to 7 days, this one is really acceptable. You can keep on attending in these days, it's normal. Okay, then phase two, this one is called the follicular phase. So in here, the hormones prompt the creation of follicles on the ovary. Usually, just one follicle will mature into an egg. Then we go to phase three, which is the ovulation. Now, ovulation here, it's actually the mature egg is released from the follicle and is ready for fertilization. So now here, this is a period where even a woman is the sexual feelings, they are at their peak during this ovulation phase. Okay, and here this is a period where pregnancy is guaranteed. So pregnancy is guaranteed. Okay, then from there, if at all now fertilization has not occurred, then it will proceed to phase four, which is the luteal phase. So if there is no fertilized egg, your body will prepare to shed its thickened lining and the cycle will begin again. So as it prepares, here it just prepares, it just prepares. So probably this is a period where you can even consider to have some sex despite not being ready for pregnancy. Okay, then finally this is the ovulation, where ovulation, where the egg has been produced. Okay, now let's look at the concentration of hormones. So all these processes that are happening in the female, they are regulated by what? By the hormones. So the hormonal concentrations at each phase are different. For example, when we look at the follicular development here, so during menstruation, you can see that the follicle stimulating hormone FSH is actually low. Okay, then here you can see this yellow line, the levels of estrogen here, they are stimulated by the luteinizing hormone. So here it is very high. Okay, so the luteinizing hormone level here, as you can see, it is also very high. And finally, in the luteal phase, the levels of progesterone, they actually rise. Okay, so these are the changes of the hormones during this cycle. Okay, now we are still talking about the menstrual cycle. So what are some of the factors that can disturb the menstrual cycle? Now, the amount of blood which every woman sheds is different from woman to woman and is dependent on a lot of factors, amongst which is diet. Okay, so some women that eat nicely and those that have got poor diets, they will definitely shed different amounts of blood. Okay, now the menstrual cycle can be disturbed by many factors, among which may include the following. So the use of birth control pills, so those, they can disturb your menstrual cycle. Okay, then pregnancy definitely stops your cycle. So during pregnancy, no woman is able to attend or to menstruate. Okay, then also we have polycystic ovary syndrome. So this is the hormonal imbalance. From nowhere, some women even become suspicious thinking they are pregnant or not, but that is just due to polycystic ovary syndrome. Another one is uterine fibroids. So there are some women that have got some fibroids. So fibroids, these are non-cancerous growth in your uterus that can make your periods longer and heavier than usual. So the fibroids. Okay, let's look at fertilization and implantation, because we said during sexual intercourse, the sperm and the fertilized egg, the sperm and the ovum, they tend to meet. So the fusion of the sperm and the ovum is known as the fertilization, and in the process, it forms what is known as a zygote. Okay, so now when sperms are received in the vagina here, it travels all the way into the fallopian tube. So in the fallopian tube there, it meets the egg. So when the sperm meets the egg gets fertilized. Now, when during sexual intercourse, a million sperms are produced. A million sperms are produced, but only one gets to fertilize an egg. So when the egg is fertilized, it closes up. The other sperms will not be able to enter. Okay, so once the zygote has formed, so on day one there, the zygote has formed, then the zygote will begin to divide by the process of mitosis. Okay, so here we can see fertilization, then mitosis. So mitosis, now you see the sperm carries a haploid number, which is the 23 chromosomes. So half the number of chromosomes in the body is 23. So the sperm carries 23 and the ovum also carries 23. So once they fuse together, they form 46. So a zygote contains 46, which is called the diploid. So diploid number of chromosomes is 46. Okay, then it will begin to divide by mitosis. So it will first divide into 2, then secondly into 8, into 4, then from 4 to 8, and so on and so forth, until it forms a mature fertilized cell, which will be called a blastocyte. Then the blastocyte will be attached into the lining of the uterus, and this will mark the beginning of pregnancy. Okay, let's have another view of fertilization and implantation. So like I said, at this stage here, we have our fertilization. Okay, then after this, we are now going to form a zygote. So here, division begins. So here we have, now division begins. We have 1 here. Now it has divided into 2. From 2, it divides into 4. From 4 into 8, and so on and so forth, until the blastocyte is attached to the lining of the uterus, which is the endometrium. So the attachment of the blastocyte into the lining of the uterus is what we call implantation. So implantation is the attaching of the blastocyte into the lining of the uterus, and this will mark what? Pregnancy. Let's look at the sample examination question from 2018 section A, paper 2. So the question reads, figure 3.0 summarizes the development process during sexual reproduction in human beings. So as you can see here from the shape, you can tell this is the sperm. So the sperm, and this one is the egg or the ovary, the ovum. So the egg and the sperm here, process 1 is definitely fertilization. So this P here, you can tell to say this is a zygote. Okay, so this one is a zygote. Okay, then this one is a egg, the female egg. So this is our egg there. Then fertilization occurs, it forms a zygote. Then a zygote, now process 2 here begins. This one will be definitely what? Mitosis. Okay, so this one was mitosis, which is a type of cell division. Okay, then mitosis continues. Also there it continues. So process 2 mitosis, process 3 mitosis, and it will continue until a blastocyte is done what? Is formed. Now I should also mention something here, that what happens here is that when one egg is fertilized by the sperm, it forms a zygote. Now if this zygote splits into 2 equal halves, then identical twins will be formed. Okay, but if 2 different eggs were fertilized by a sperm, then we are going to have non-identical twins called the fraternal twins. So the Siamese twins, which are also called the identical twins, are as a result of one fertilized egg being split into 2 equal halves. Okay, we continue with our question. Now they are saying identify the cells labeled N and P. Okay, so N here, we know that this one was the what? The ovum, which is the egg. So this is the ovum or egg. Then we go to P. P is the zygote. So this one is the zygote, which is simply a fertilized what? Egg. So that is the zygote. The name process 1 and 2. So process 1, this one is fertilization, like we have said, that is fertilization. Okay, so process 1 is fertilization. Okay, fertilization. And process 2 is cell division to be be specific mitosis. So cell division to be specific mitosis. Okay, so that's what it is. Suggest the part of the female reproductive organ in which process 1 takes place. So this one is what? Fallopian tube. So fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube. So fertilization will always take place in the what? In the fallopian tube. Okay. Explain what happens at stage R for identical twins to be produced. Okay. So now at stage R, the zygote divides into two identical cells having exactly the same genetic materials. Okay, so this zygote will actually divide into two identical cells having exactly the same genetic materials. Okay, now the question D, describe two situations which can result in infertility and cause process 1 not to take place. Okay, I'll deliberately skip this one and answer it at a later stage as we look at these things. Okay, now, like we have said, implantation marks the beginning of pregnancy. But as pregnancy is developing, there are some health risks that are associated with the pregnancy or the development of the of the fetus. So what are some of these risks? So number one, we are saying some women experience health problems during pregnancy. These complications can involve the mother's health, the fetus's health, or both. So even women who were healthy before getting pregnant do experience these complications. So these complications may cause a pregnancy to be termed a high-risk pregnancy. Therefore, it is very important that during pregnancy, you go for things such as antenatal so that you can regularly be checked by your doctors. Now, what are some of these risks? Okay, number one is high blood pressure. So high blood pressure is also called hypertension. This occurs when the arteries carrying blood from the heart to the body organs are narrowed. So this causes pressure to increase in the arteries. So in pregnancy, this can make it hard for blood to reach the placenta. And once blood does not reach the placenta, then we are going to have a problem because the baby and the mother are connected by the placenta, and through the placenta, the baby literally does everything. Now, if the blood is not reaching there, then the baby will not receive the oxygen and the nutrients. Okay. Then reduced blood flow can also slow the growth of the fetus and place the mother at greater risk of pretermal labor and preeclampsia. Okay, so women who have high blood pressure before they get pregnant will continue to have it, but others can develop it once they have the baby. So the kind of BP that develops due to pregnancy is called gestational hypertension. This one goes away once delivery is done. The second problem associated with pregnancy is anemia. So we know anemia is having lower than the normal number of healthy red blood cells. So there are issues of insufficient oxygen and so on and so forth. So women with pregnant-related anemia may feel tired and weak. This can be helped by taking iron and folic acid supplements. Okay. Then we've got also the UTIs, urinary tract infections. These are common in pregnant women. However, it's urinary tract infections, so they have to be treated. Okay. Okay. Now, UTIs is a bacterial infection in the urinary tract. You may have a UTI if you have pain or burning when you use the bathroom, fever, tiredness, or shakiness, and urge to use the bathroom often. So pressure in your lower belly, urine that smells bad or looks cloudy or reddish, nausea or back pain. So if you think you have a UTI, please, you need to visit the doctor so that you have safe delivery. So UTIs can make your delivery complicated. Okay, another thing that can happen, which is a problem during pregnancy, is mental health conditions. Okay, so some women experience depression during or after pregnancy. So symptoms of depression as follows: a low or sad mood, loss of interest in fun activities, etc., etc. So this isn't really good, because a mentally disturbed mother will not take care of herself and the baby, and this can bring about a lot of problems at giving birth. Okay, another problem is obesity and weight gain. So, recent studies suggest that the heavier a woman is before she becomes pregnant, the greater her risk of pregnancy complications, including preeclampsia. Okay, so stillbirth and cesarean. So, stillbirth is where you have a baby is not fully developed to be born, and then you just give birth. So we'll look at stillbirth at some other time. Okay. Now, what is healthy pregnancy and safety childbirth? So healthy pregnancy so in most cases, the best way to ensure that the baby is ready to be born and the mother's body is ready to birth her baby is to let labor begin on its own. So in the last weeks of pregnancy, the baby moves down into the pelvis, the cervix softens, and the uterine muscle becomes receptive to oxytocin, which is a hormone. Okay, now how to maintain a healthy pregnancy? So number one, you need to make sure you eat right. Okay, then number two, you need to get your vitamins. So number three, stay hydrated. Okay, avoid certain foods such as alcohol and other foods that you'll be advised at the hospital. Okay, then also you have to avoid alcohol as earlier mentioned. Okay, then you have to avoid smoking. You have to at least be moving and exercising. Okay, you have to get a flu shot. Now, flu can be a serious thing for a pregnant woman, so you make sure that you are taken care of by a health professional. Okay, then you need to get plenty of sleep, about 7 to 9 hours. That is advisable for a pregnant woman to get a lot of sleep. Okay, then don't be stressing yourself. Make sure you are stress free. Okay, what are some of the methods of birth control? So methods of birth control is simply any method used to prevent pregnancy. So there are many different methods of birth control, including the using of condoms, IUDs, meaning this one means intrauterine device. They insert it into the vagina. Then the birth control pills, the rhythm method. This is where you just have to observe your safe period during your menstrual cycle. In the safe period, you cannot get pregnant. Then others, they use vasectomy and tubal ligation, where your tubes are tied. Others, they are even cut. Okay, now all these things have got their own cons and pros. So the birth control pills, for example, they have to be used appropriately because they come with their own effects. So let's look at the benefits and possible risks of using contraceptives. Okay, so the benefits. The major benefit, and probably the only non-debatable benefit of contraceptives, is that you'll be able to plan your family nicely. That's why they are also called family planning pills. Okay, now what are the risks? So contraceptives have different side effects, among which may include disturbing the menstrual cycle, weight gain, and hormonal imbalance. If you've noticed, married women, they have a problem with the bellies. So they have some pot bellies. They are being advised here and there to go for gyms. So some of those bellies are as a result of their the birth control method that they use and these pills that they use. So just a caution, even the contraceptive pills, they've got times when they can be taken. We've got those that can be taken during emergencies, like the morning after pills, and there are those that can be taken as a normal contraceptive pill for a long time. So we've got the short term and the long term. Okay, causes of infertility in human beings. So like we said, infertility is the inability to become pregnant after 1 year of intercourse without contraception involving a male and a female, a male and a female partner. Okay, so in 1 year, you are just having sexual intercourse with your partner without using contraceptions, that you are not getting pregnant. Then there is an issue of infertility. The only question is it male or female infertility? So male infertility, this one, the common cause of male infertility is low production of the sperm. So there are many causes of low sperm production, including stress and drug abuse or high temperature of the testes. Remember, like we said, the testes, they need to be kept at a temperature slightly lower than the normal body temperature. So if there is high temperature in your testes, then this can cause low sperm production. Also, if there is low testosterone production, then you won't be able to produce a sperm that is powerful enough to penetrate the shell of the ovum. Okay, there is also the case of female infertility. So female infertility is the inability to conceive either by fertilization failure or implantation failure. So egg cell formation or ovulation may not occur due to a hormone imbalance. The egg cell may not be able to pass to the uterine due to blockage of the fallopian tube. So treatment with hormones may be successful. In vitro fertilization and implantation are often used to treat female infertility. Okay, so in conclusion, let's just try to look at a sample question from 2017. So you can practice this one and give us your feedback. So identify causes of infertility in human beings. Describe how a healthy pregnancy could be maintained. Describe safe childbirth. Now, all these things are in your notes, and a PDF will also be sent into your inbox after this lesson. Now, I would love to emphasize this sample question is paper 2, section B, which is essay type questions. So please write according to the guidelines that have been giving in other videos. If you are watching us for the first time, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and share the link. Thank you so much. See you next time.